without you, love, my life ain't nothing but this carnival of rust.
Hello, fellow YouTubers, this is Yuta Moses here to give you my movie review on Sucker Punch. The story follows Baby Doll, a young woman who shoots her stepfather in self-defense and ends up in a mental institution, along with some other girls who are planning to escape from there by formulating a plan before the warden gives them up to the High Roller for a profit in a matter of days. And so Baby Doll does this mesmerizing dance that everyone is amazed at for some reason. Like, I don't know, we never get to see it. And when she does dance, we get to see her alternate world that she escapes into to cope with the painful stress of what's going on there. Now, when I saw the trailer to Sucker Punch, I was excited like everyone else would be, and it had samurai giants, dragons, alien robots, and Nazi monsters, and it was going to be directed by Zack Snyder, and he said this was going to be his first action film that he directed, so I guess I would say that Watchmen was his dramatic comic book movie, and 300 a period piece. So it was going to be awesome, right? Well, I found out that a day before watching the movie that it was going to be rated PG-13 and not R like it was originally intended. And I saw a lot of negative reviews than positive on Rotten Tomatoes, and this was said to be Zack Snyder's original idea for a movie. And by the looks of it, he must have went to Japan for a month or two, watched a lot of anime, and got all the manga books that he could get his hands on. And that would sum up what Sucker Punch is. And I almost expected there to be a scene where there's flashing lights where it would give you a seizure. The acting was somewhat decent. I thought Emily Browning, along with the rest of the girls, were alright, but the rest of the cast was just really fake to me. When Color Gugino plays Mrs. Gorvisky putting on her Polish accent, it sounded really mediocre. And when you think about it later on, how it sounded, it just sounds worse in your head. And the actor who played Blue Jones, the warden, and the bad guy in this movie, Oscar Isaacs was his name, I thought he was nothing special. I found Clark Gable to be much more threatening than him. And when Zack Snyder was looking for a wise man, he was thinking of a David Carradine type of character, so he gets Scott Glenn, which I thought was a good choice, but when he says his dialogue, it just sounded terrible coming from him. And I don't blame the actor, by the way, I blame the writer for the stuff he had to say. And Zack Snyder, I always consider him to be a nerd director for including a lot of things that would be cool in his films, and he normally goes with slow motion and graphic violence, and there are a lot of parts in Sucker Punch where the slow motion really isn't needed. It's like, okay, you need to add slow motion into this movie or scene, otherwise I'm going to cut your throat. And then I'm going to kill myself, because there is no way in hell I am going to live without my slow motion. So, and that's how I thought he would react to that. And the story doesn't make no sense at all after watching it through, because it doesn't explain where Baby Doll gets all these things that she includes into her alternate world. It just shows that it's interconnected to the events that are happening in real life to the current situation when she's dancing on stage. And we see all the worlds she goes into while she's dancing on stage. and everyone just looks at her like eye candy, being so shocked by how great it was that we never see her dance. And how would we know how much pain she was going through while she was dancing, or knowing how good she was while doing it? And as for the ending, I was just left even more confused because I couldn't comprehend what was happening at all at the end. And it's like they pull an Inception on all of us, and if I found like a hardcore diehard Zack Snyder fan that would explain all this, I would feel like the biggest retard in the world about it for not figuring it out. And for the audience that they're trying to attract for this movie, I doubt that that the people at the studios are going to react to it like they would with Pluto Nash.
I've got the weekend box office numbers, sir.
Overall, I thought Sucker Punch was very stupid, very pretentious, hardly making any sense in its story. Sure, it had the action and the visual effects, but what it was really lacking in general was a story, a character development, and an in-depth explanation as to what was going on. This is an example of a great director who let his creativity go over his head, thinking that he doesn't have to do much about it. And I was really hoping to like this movie, hoping that it would be a great movie by critics, but I just can't believe how bad it failed. And I just wish he could have just either did some of the following I just said, or made a porno behind a green screen. And it really made me worried about him directing The Man of Steel, and hopefully Christopher Nolan will be around often enough to make sure that he doesn't screw it up. The only good things about Sucker Punch was some of the action, and the soundtrack of songs which compensate for the lack of music score in it. And they were all remixes of songs that won't be released until a different decade. And in case you're wondering when the story takes place, it's the 50s. So here's what I'm going to do for my rating. I'm going to flip a coin. Heads, 2 out of 5. Tails, 1.5. So let's do this. Heads. What was heads again? You know what? Fuck it. I'm just giving it 1.5 out of 5. This is only meant for the really die-hard Zack Snyder fans, but if you don't want to waste the $11 or something, then just wait until it goes to the internet. And I'm not a Zack Snyder fan, by the way. So that's all for my review. YouTube Moses, signing out.